Record this shit for posterity.
Okay, we are on show number 2 of what'd you call it? The show that Alex Felice will have no longer have
Alex Felice no longer has friends.
Yeah, the Alex Felice has no friends show, episode 2. My name is Alex Felice, and I have 2 acquaintances apparently with me.
Wow, who are those acquaintances you have with you?
Well, apparently they're not friends. My brother. We are actually kind of acquaintances. We were not friends for many, many years. And Jared Felice from Virginia, very smart fella. And Mindy Jensen, my best friend in the whole wide world. Sometimes. We're having a Corona party because we are under Corona quarantine.
I am having a Yule's brewing party. I am drinking a delightful Imperial Milk Stout with Honduras coffee by Ampersand Brewing. Ampersand Roasting. Oh, did that just spill all over the place?
No, because I'm because I'm not a rookie. So the reason that we're going to do this is, well, multifaceted, but the thing that everybody wants to know is how is the economic machine work over the next, the foreseeable. So
terrible.
I guess
apparently.
So I guess I'll start off. My first question would be like, have you noticed any direct effects to work at Biggerpockets? So I know you do real investing, and I know you're a realtor, or you have your realtor license.
I have a real estate agent license. I'm not a realtor. A realtor is a member of the National Association of Realtors. I just want to make sure that people know that.
Oh, you're going to have to explain that one to me.
Oh, so I am not trying to pass myself off as something that I'm not. A realtor is somebody who is a member of the National Association of Realtors. And everybody else is just a real estate salesperson.
Oh.
It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
So
I know more than anybody else in the whole planet. So
the reason I love doing this is because Jared is a finance guy and a CFA charter holder, but he doesn't really know, and I don't mean this, he doesn't know real estate he's not in the real estate industry. So he can come here, we can talk finance, and he knows economics, but it's an overlapping perspective. So I like that we have kind of different ideas.
Well, I know both, so I can have a conversation with both of you.
I know that. I know. So I find it very interesting because, it's like you watch the news and it's all very high level economics, the Federal Reserve or the stock market and all these things, but that doesn't trickle down, the trickle down from those events to how it affects the day, like a person's actual, nobody's lost any paychecks yet. And so I'm really trying to feel I'm really trying to get a grip on people's how this is going to be. And so I'm trying to ask everybody, and I know people on the ground here are like business as usual. I can't get, contractors or not. They're like, I have people call me every day. So some people are like business as usual, like it's not slowing down. And then I have other people, if you look in the news, it's like, we're about to turn the country off. And so I'm just trying to feel where your individual, how it's affecting you.
I am feeling the effects both ways. So for me, it's business as usual. I work for an internet startup. Everything I do is on a computer, on the internet. So I could just do that from home. And we closed the office a week ago. And I've been working from home since then, which is I work from home half time anyway. So it's not really a huge difference. However, my children's school, at the same time the office was closed, they closed my kids' school. So now I have 2 kids at home instead of in school learning. And this current week, we're recording this on a Friday. This current week was kind of a freebie. Next week is their scheduled spring break. And the week after that, we start online classes. I am really kind of starting to panic isn't the right word because I'm isolating myself at home. We have one other family around the corner that we're hanging out with every single day leading up to it. And we both decided, if one of us has it, already all 8 of us have it. So we're just going to continue to hang out with them, and neither one of us are hanging out with anybody else. So we're isolating together. And that part has been really helpful, but I don't know that I want to send my kids back to school this year unless everything has been like completely wiped out. And frankly, I'm not sure that they're actually going to start school again. We're officially closed until May 2nd, which seems like a long time. But
they're gonna close. California's done. I think New York is done. North Carolina's done. I think Texas is done for the year. So I imagine it's just a matter of time.
I imagine so too. And you know what? Frankly, I think that's best. I was talking to my friends, the only people that I'm seeing in real life, Eric and Van, and I was talking to them and I said, you know, I would love to be overblowing this. Like we're isolating ourselves, we're not seeing anybody. I would love to be in a position where I'm overblowing it and it turns out to be nothing down the road, because then I'm safe. But if I'm like, did you see those spring break kids? Did you see that video that makes my heart hurt for their parents?
What could you expect from 21-year-olds? Jeez.
Listen.
I'd have been the same way. I still kind of am.
Well, you know what? If my daughter was 21 right now, I would not be allowing her to go. And yeah, when they're 21, you can't really tell them what to do anymore, but I'm pretty bossy, so I probably will still be telling her what to do when she's 21. And I would so much rather be in this position of, oh, I think the sky's falling, and then everything turns out fine, rather than, oh my God, I really wish I would have listened to people because now I can't breathe and I'm going to die.
Yeah, that's kind of the premise of, well, I wanted to ask the Black Swan, the book that was written to describe the word, to create the word of what we're going through now, the Black Swan, the unexpected event. And so the idea is, yeah, I mean, there's no risk and there's no confidence. There's no risk and there's no consequence in over preparing. And there's an incredibly high risk potential and consequence potential for under preparing.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think there's an incredible risk to over preparing. You know, there's no free lunch in this world. You have so many resources to use. You have to choose how you divvy that up. And, you know, in a modern world, we measure those resources through a number of finite things, including money and credit and income. And it all comes out of somewhere. Somebody's going to pay for something. So over preparing costs us something somewhere. And we can do what we're doing. We can shut the world down if we see something around the corner that has a phantom shadow. We can do that. We can make that choice. Acting like it has no cost, I think, is not wise.
Okay, I meant more like Mindy. She's like, hey, look, I'm just gonna stay home. Now for her as an individual, that's a low cost endeavor. And like you said, like, hey, look, if it means we don't get sick, right? That's a low cost, high reward. Now, again, if you're wrong and it's like, hey, look, this is all overblown. It's like, staying home, isolating didn't really cost you anything. So I think I don't disagree with you, Jared. It's more like, I guess the specific context matters. So, but let me bring that to another point. Let's talk about that. Over what expectations of what this is going to become are changing rapidly. And, you know, the last time we talked about it, we talked about the end. We talked about how, you know, even the presidential administration kind of, at least their messaging, right? Went from, it's not gonna be that big a deal to like, oof, we better really get our shit together. And I think that's kind of how a lot of people, I don't think that they were wrong. I think they were like everybody else in that. Everybody said, how big a deal could this be? And now it's like, I've never seen the effects, the steps that some of these governments are taking. I've never seen anything like this. And so,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I think it's crazy. I think it's lunacy.
You think it's overblown?
We are burning the world down to save ourselves from fire. How crazy is that? It's insane. It doesn't even make any sense. What we've done is we've eradicated any notion of proportion. We have, you know, it's like, if we equated this to war, it'd be like, you know, terrorists are out there. So let's just start nuclear war now. Let's just do it now and act as though that's going to save us from any potential disaster in the future. You know, there's cost to doing that.
The last time,
this is insane. Could you think of something more benign, something more low key, more irrelevant to our daily lives, to society as a whole, that could shut down the world? I can't think of anything.
Do you equate this to the TSA?
Like, yeah, in some ways, sure. I mean, yeah, right. I mean, we're going to cost ourselves an untold trillions of dollars into perpetuity. An unknown number of dollars to save ourselves from that shadow of just fear. For what?
Well, how do you feel about the comments that the U.S. healthcare system is going to get overwhelmed if everybody starts, like, if this just comes in and hits everybody? You've seen the
curve, flatten the curve. Yeah.
You've seen that where it's going to hit like this or it's going to be like this?
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with anything that I'm hearing. I don't think that the numbers are wrong. I don't think that the health officials are wrong. I just think that you have a number of resources that you have to dole out, you know, to maximize the overall well-being of every person in the world. And what we've done now is we've said we are going to make sure that people don't get this virus, or that this virus is mitigated at the cost of everything else. No matter, we will, you know, what's the quote? We will spare no expense in saving money.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes. So I agree with you in that regard. Like, so the things that are telling to me is in 2008, and not to say they're comparable, but well, they're both calamities. So in 2008, like a big long discussion about what was the correct amount of stimulus, and then we fought about it. We fought about it in the media. What scares me right now is that it seems to me that on two fronts, on both the social front, in terms of locking everybody down, and giving out massive stimulus, financial stimulus in various forms, the media, which is supposed to be an adversarial system, has been largely cohesive. Meaning, like okay, the Fed went to zero or damn near it in an instant, right? We haven't had any missed payments yet. People aren't writing checks, like Jared said. We're gonna write all these checks to people, and it's like you haven't missed any payments yet. And so it's like we're ramping up to spend all the money on an unknown, like what's the bill? We haven't got the bill yet. And it's like, just throw all the money at it. And so I wonder, it's like, look, this is what Ray Dalio's big debt crisis was about. It's like, we already had 23 trillion in debt. You know, you can spend the money, but there is a cost, and we don't know what either the cost of what we're going to spend is going to be, and we don't know the cost of what it's going to take to actually defend against what we're defending against. So I think it's very interesting time. Very worrisome.
Yeah, and I also think that there are circumstances where the end is here. I think in 2008 we saw that. In 2008, the end was here. We were done. It was over. It was the ball game. So in those circumstances, you know, it's like you're in free fall, and you just got to jump out of the plane. And it doesn't really matter, you know, how you're going to. It doesn't matter if you've got a parachute on or how you're going to get to the ground. We'll worry about that second, right? So that's what kind of TARP and you know, some of those programs kind of helped us out of the immediate explosions, and it kind of it was kind of what we have now in some ways. You know, we're just going to start blowing a whole bunch of money to try to stem the tide, but there was a clear and immediate danger in those cases. In this case, it's not here yet, and we really don't know what it's going to look. Numbers coming out of Bank of America today suggest that they believe there's going to be 3 million a reduction in 3 million non-farm payroll numbers. 3 million workers are going to be in April, are going to be out of work. 3 million. That's what I mean, and CNBC had an article that suggested there's a range between 500,000 and 5 million. So that tells you two things. One, the unemployment is going to skyrocket over the next few months. It's going to absolutely go through the roof. And two, there's so much uncertainty. 500,000 to 5 million. We have no clue. So we're fighting something that we're really unsure of on multiple fronts. The only thing that we know of is that it's going to be terrible. And we really don't know how to spend our resources at the moment. Waiting it out might not be a great idea, but I know that what we're doing is just terrible. This is terrible.
So do you think that we should keep everything open?
I think that we're America and we should let people do what they want to do. I don't think that we should suspend things. I think it's a terrible idea for the government to start closing. We closed down alcohol, ABC stores. I think it's a terrible idea.
I don't agree. I think
and most people will disagree.
Oh, good, because I'm feeling like you're so certain in your position. I'm seeing people, you know, I said I'm self-isolating. I am still going to the grocery store. I do need to provide food for my family. But when I get there, I'm not the only one there. The parking lot is packed. Yeah. The shelves are bare, which is kind of crazy. I'm not overstocking on anything. I do buy toilet paper whenever it's available, which is never, simply because I don't want to run out. But I don't have like 50,000 rolls of it. I think that people, until you close things down, people won't stop going out. I was out on the weekend of March? The weekend of March 6, 7, 8, 9. We went to a water park. And as we were driving down, they had announced the first case of coronavirus in Colorado. And I think they were up to 2 or 3 cases by the time the weekend was over. Not one person in that water park was listening to the news, paying attention at all. They didn't feel like they should have been isolating themselves. They were all out having a great time. It's an airborne respiratory illness. They're out there in the water, like taking no precautions. And I'm sitting here talking smack about them like I'm not there with them. I was totally there with them. But as we were walking into the hotel, I said to my husband, are we doing something wrong by being here? Like, are we just not taking it seriously enough? He's like, I don't know. But, like those spring break kids said on that video that's going around, oh, well, we've been planning this for months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, that kid. Oh my goodness. Totally sober when he said that.
I'll put up an argument that's kind of in between those two. I think the idea of everybody self-isolating is sound in that, hey, look, if we have a cohesive idea that if we turn this, I can hear Penelope, she's amazing. If we have this idea, it's like, if it's like, hey, look, if this flatten the curve thing really works, and it's like you turn everything off for 2 weeks. But I think the problem was we didn't have any previous messaging. So like everybody close everything down in 2 weeks doesn't seem like it's a agreed upon strategy. It seems like the government's forcing us into our homes. Now, the problem with that is, well, you can't trust the government ever. And my big thing about that is it's like, hey, we all go in for 2 weeks. What if it's 3? What if it's 4? What if it's 6? What if the government just doesn't want to let you out of your house so easily? Like, so my question really is, will there be a First Amendment Supreme Court case about my right to free assembly before this is all said and done?
I hope so.
And if you want to get really cynical, which I am, will there be violence of like, no, you're going to let me out of my house before, arrests and whatnot, riots, and there's already likelihood of looting, right? So what's the likelihood that the police come in and say, no, you can't leave your home, which is constitutionally illegal, but
yeah,
is this thing going to get to that point?
Yeah, I think it will. And I think, we're already hearing noise about various states. I don't think the federal government has the juice, but various states are going to shut down activities for all companies that are non-essential. Normally this applies to government officials only, in which case they have full authority and right to do. But when it comes to private citizens, you can't tell me what I can't do. If I want to open up shop and sell something, well, now we're going to come in and mandate you do X, Y, Z unless, you fit within some category. Well, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to see people sue for an injunction. We're going to go through the court system. I mean, right? That's exactly what I would do. I wouldn't allow anybody to come in and tell me I can't sell a product that's perfectly legal. And so, yeah, I think this is going to be a judicial matter. I think it's going to be, a civil rights issue. I think it's going to be, everything. I do.
What do you, Mindy? Oh, I can't hear her.
She's muted. She muted herself.
I muted myself. I always do that. Here is a story on CNN. A coronavirus patient refused to quarantine, so deputies are surrounding his house to force him to. A Kentucky patient checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice. To prevent him from spreading the virus, officials are surrounding his house to keep him there. First of all, that's a douche move. He has the virus. He was in a hospital. He has the virus. He should be quarantining himself. He's being a douche for trying to spread it around the world or his town or whatever.
Are you suggesting that douchebaggery should be made illegal?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes.
No, but I'm pretty sure that what he's probably, I don't know this. I'm not a legal scholar. What he's doing probably is illegal. I mean, if you have a known pathogen in your body and you've been declared by, I mean, we have certain limitations under conditions. I mean, if you have known medical problems, if you have mental issues and you're checked into a mental facility against your will, we do that all the time. And you don't have the ability to just check yourself out.
Yeah,
my fear falls in that. Go ahead.
My fear is not in the really close margin of is this the right thing? Like, hey, look, you said, like, hey, look, we have a guy that we know is sick, and we're just going to lock him up for 30 days so that it clears his system, blah, 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 blah. And then, it's like, hey, look, should do that? Probably not, but come on, the greater good. Like, we can kind of negotiate those. My complaint is, it's kind of like the no-fly list, right? It's like, oh, we think that guy's sick, so now you can't leave the house, right? And it becomes overreach real quick. It's like, you know what? There was 5 sicknesses in your zip code, so nobody in the zip code can now leave. And so I say all this to say, like, we gave this power up so easy, and I just don't see the government giving it back so easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't know. You say that guy's sick, but I haven't seen the test. Will the test ever come out? How many times does it have to go on before it's like, oh, just trust the government? You shouldn't leave the house. Just trust the government.
Yeah. And how accurate are those tests? and who's administering them, and when did they do it, and who paid them, and
Mindy, not such cynic.
I did not know that this was going to be a conspiracy theory hour.
Oh, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just don't want anybody barking orders at me. And I last I checked, it's like, we have freedom of choice. And, the problem with freedom is that you have the ability to do things other people don't like. That's a huge problem.
So what about my freedom to not get this illness that this guy has?
Yeah, and that's the question. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't like vaccines, and when you have a reduction in the vaccinated population, you're now at risk. Is that against your free will? If they're cutting down forests in Brazil and it ends up creating more pollution and less oxygen in the world, is that somehow affecting you? And yes, but we have to establish limitations to what your freedom is, and it doesn't involve telling other people what they can do and can't do. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of problems with this. I really do, and I think if there's any logic put into how to deal with it, I don't think you can come away with
I lost him.
Yeah, he froze for me.
Yeah, same. He sucks.
He doesn't suck.
So okay, let's talk about. Hopefully he'll come back. So let's talk about the stock market.
Let's talk about the stock market.
Yeah, and how this
Stocks are on sale.
Do you think that?
I do. I was talking to my husband, who pays far more attention to the stock market than I do, and I asked him if he was worried about it, and he said, "I wish we had more money to throw in the stock market right now."
Jared, I was asking her what the effects are. So I want to adjust that specifically because I think it's a very common idea right now is that stocks are on sale, and some of them I agree are, and I also think that, and I could be wrong, I think that we have some ways to go down before, because in my mind now, I know the market prices in obviously future, future expectations instantly, as in some ways. We don't know what the expectations are going to be, and if I said, and I think everybody here would agree, like things are going to get worse before they get better, wouldn't stock prices adjust as things actually get worse? I can't imagine that. The news hits and then, the stocks drop, which is correct, but won't they continue? And I know it's a blanket statement, but won't this continue the fall because the news is going to continue to get worse?
Yeah, I don't think we're at the bottom yet. I think we're getting pretty close, but I don't think we're at the bottom yet. And I'm doing something, well, I would be if I had any money, doing something called dollar cost averaging. I don't know where the bottom is, and I cannot time the market. So I am buying when I have money. I have a real estate deal closing in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to throw every penny of it into the stock market. Because, and wherever it is at that time, I found value in the stock market at the high that it was at a few weeks ago. I super find value in it as it has been dropping. I do not believe it's going to go to zero. I don't believe it's going to get anywhere close to zero. I'm talking about the Dow. And I think if it does go to zero, we have so many more problems than that.
Jared, are you buying stocks right now more than usual?
I wish. Yeah, I agree with Mindy 100%. Dollar cost averaging, it's the best kept secret in modern equity trading. Honestly, it's the one thing that people, could really use. It takes no skill. It takes no really prior knowledge. You don't have to research companies. You don't have to. It's effortless. And
you just buy SPY.
Yeah,
same amount every week.
Well, you basically, yeah. Whatever you want to choose to purchase, yeah, you want to diversify, but you just do it on a regular basis with the same dollar amount. And when situations like this come up, you don't have to time the market, and you can reap all the benefits from whatever the value is. So, my biggest problem is I just don't have. I'm trying to find the cash, and I don't want to go out and acquire a bunch of debt because I'm human and it's the right thing to do, but I don't have the guts for it. So what I should do is go to the bank and get some sort of a loan. What I should do is try to, sign up for college classes so I can get a student loan. I should,
which will now be absolved.
Exactly. Yeah. No, honestly though, right? That's what I should be doing. And yeah, I just don't have the stomach to acquire a bunch of debt, but I agree 100%. You should be acquiring stock. You shouldn't be shying away. We say buy low, sell high, but we in fact do the opposite every time.
Buy always.
People have, yeah, look at money markets in these situations. They always increase. It's insane.
What's the are you maybe you can I know you buy particular stocks. I know Carl buys individual stocks. Are you hot on anything particular, or you just it doesn't really matter, just buy what you like, buy the market?
I think it does matter 100%. We do have some individual holdings, and we may increase our holdings in those individual companies like Tesla, Google, probably not Facebook. We have moved over to index fund investing. So everything that we're buying right now is VTSAX and VGT, which is the Vanguard tech fund, because my husband is very tech. What's the word? He loves
Savvy?
tech stocks, tech savvy, and he believes in the power of technology.
So I have a theory that I don't know if it's a really good theory, but it's my theory, and it's one that nobody else is saying. So I'm kind of clinging to it just because it's different. I have a theory. I've had this theory for a while. Actually, it's been brewing, and I think it's gonna manifest itself through this endeavor. I think Netflix is gonna suffer during this, and I think Disney is gonna explode. And for the same reasons, intellectual property. Good.
I will say that Netflix has, they have contracts with whoever is creating the content, and those aren't going to go away during this crisis simply because those people don't want Netflix to have them. Disney Plus is soaring while Disney, the company, or the parks are shuttered. They're going to lose $500 million on those shuttered properties. And frankly, that was a headline, and I didn't read the entire article to see what the time frame in that $500 million is. Can Disney absorb a $500 million hit? Yeah, probably. I don't invest in Disney specifically, so I'm not sure. But I think that a lot of the gains will be offset by the fact that the parks are closed. And how long are the parks going to be closed?
Yeah. So my thinking here is Netflix. I agree with you that there's contracts and that those contracts aren't going to change. But there'll be other things that happen. Like, I don't think that Netflix is going to gain any market share for this. I think that they're maxed out because they've been the leader. They've been the industry leader for quite some time. So I think they only have market share to lose. And I think that I think what's going to happen right now, and this is my, like, was it Universal? Somebody came out and they said, we're going to start releasing all our movies. Instead of putting them at the theater, we're releasing them on stream. And so what's going to happen is everybody's going to get their intellectual property to market immediately because they know that people are going to be home watching an increase. The market share for streaming is going to go up. And so my guess is, and I posted it today, I'm curious but if you had seen it, you probably didn't, but my guess is Disney is going to do something extreme, like say, hey, for the month of April, we're going to release our entire catalog of intellectual property, every movie we've ever made. Just come on to Disney Plus now. We'll sign you up. First month's half off, whatever the case. And so you know how the subscription series works, right? So like Disney Park might be closed 90 days, but if you sign that subscription to Disney Plus, the odds of you canceling it in 90 days is less than you saying $8 a month, I'll leave it a thing. So that becomes residual perpetuity income. And Netflix can't do that. The only thing that Netflix can do is go to somebody else and say, hey, I want some of your intellectual property in an environment where it's incredibly high demand. So why would they say, I'll go to Netflix instead? NBC is going to rush their product to market now and try to get their streaming service. Now, you're right that they can't lose the contracts, but I think this is going to be a turning point in the streaming industry, which was, I believe, a long time in. But I think this is going to be a turning point. I think Netflix is going to I think their best days are behind them. And I can
see what you're saying. And I think it's a well thought out argument. I haven't thought about it, so I have no rebuttal. I know that Disney Plus came out, and didn't they get like 20 million signups in a month or something? I mean, it's $8 a month. I have Netflix and I have 2 kids, so I also have Disney Plus. And when you go on Disney, like, I did not want to get Disney. My husband decided to get Disney Plus, and when we went on there, I'm scrolling through and I'm like, oh, I didn't know they had Marvel. I knew they had Star Wars, but I thought it was just going to be a bunch of cartoons.
You didn't know about Marvel? It was like one of the biggest purchases.
Disney owns everything.
Disney owns Lucas too. Yes, Star Wars.
They own Pixar. They own National
Pixar,
Geographic.
yeah.
They own everything.
Well, yes, National Geographic was on there too. And I'm like, oh, the girls couldn't decide on what to watch today because they only have, what's that Bruce Springsteen song, 57 channels and nothing on? They only have 5 million choices on Disney. I really thought that it was just going to be a bunch of cartoons. I'm like, why are we paying for this? So you get on there and you're like, oh, I could definitely find something to watch. I could find a lot of somethings to watch. So I think that, maybe I'm going to share this with Carl, and he's going to maybe look up at Disney. What is the Disney stock price right now?
It's like 85. I think I just looked, and it's down quite a bit. And I don't know what it was at, 150, 160.
And I don't know if you've ever, it's 85.98, and it's down from, it looks like 90.
Well, if you go back 6 months,
52-week high, 153.
So it's down quite a bit, but I think the biggest thing in these situations is going to be cash. So whatever the case is, they're going to have to weather the storm by shutting down their biggest thing is going to be really twofold: movie theaters and parks. So they're not going to recoup any of the gains that they make from they went out and spent however many hundreds of millions of dollars to make a Marvel movie, however many of those they have in production right now that they plan on releasing over the next 6 months. Well, now they've got to adjust course. They're not going to make that money back. They're also not going to make money back on their parks. So they need cash. They need to be able to sustain the people who operate these things in the interim, but also make enough money from their other products that they can sustain. I think they can certainly do it. I just looked, they have about $5 billion in cash, twice that in receivables. So they do expect some more cash coming in. I'm sure they have lines of credit and different revolvers that they can pull on. Oftentimes in these situations, what you'll see is companies, their balance sheets change pretty radically. They try to accumulate a lot of cash through debt. So their assets increase, their debt increases, their capital structure is effectively altered. So their leverage is incredibly high. It allows them to come out of these things pretty rapidly because every dollar that they make is effectively, they earn more on whatever they make. So I think that Disney will be fine. I don't know. When I look at Netflix, the biggest thing for me is how sticky their product is. It's whatever it is, $13 a month. Most people are not going to adjust or make a decision on Netflix before anything else. I mean, Netflix will be the very last thing that people do because it just appears so cheap on their internal financial thinking. So yeah. So I mean, people are more willing to change their services than get rid of a service.
My argument is not that Netflix. That's the same about like Tesla. Like I don't think Tesla's going to put GM out of business. I think they'll probably both exist. And I don't think Disney is going to put Netflix out of business. I just think Netflix has been the industry leader for so long, and now it's like, well, Hulu took some of the market share. It's like now it's going to come to the market share. HBO Plus is going to take some of the market. NBC's going to come out and take some of them. They're going to have their product fast. And I think other companies, I think AB is going to come out with theirs, and I think Comedy Central will come out with one. And I think it's just going to become this. I think everybody's going to look now and say the opportunity is to Netflix does is now, well, we reduce the infrastructure to sell the intellectual property we already have. So it's not that Netflix will go to zero; it's that their market share will go. I have no idea the number. 50% to 10, right? And then you'll spread those around. So it's not so much that I think Netflix will go away as much as I think they're gonna. And I think they know they have to create more intellectual property. That's why they've been doing shows, their own, Orange is the New Black, and they've been making their own intellectual property. And I think they're gonna suffer now because they can't producing. But anyways, I just thought it was an interesting talking about individual stocks, and I thought that was an interesting one to talk about.
I agree with you. It's an interesting something to keep in mind. They started out making unique content, a year ago, 2 years ago, and I gotta be frank, some of it's just crap.
Who's this?
You watch these.
Who's it?
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. You watch some of these.
Most of it's dog. It's just absolute trash.
It's I like a romantic comedy, and I'm watching. I'm like, oh, wasn't she in every other romantic comedy that they made? And wow, look at that script is the exact same as all the other ones. Like some of their movies are pretty garbage, but there is one with Ryan Reynolds right now, and he's playing like Deadpool without the suit, basically. It's called Six Underground.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
He just plays himself.
Deadpool without the suit is called Ryan Reynolds.
Van Wilder.
Well,
one movie.
It's still entertaining.
I remember.
But he's got a movie called Six Underground on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, and it's pretty good. I
remember reading something about Netflix's production, their internal production structure, and how they do things. There was a movie that they made called Bright. I don't know if you remember it. It was a very strange movie. It was with Will Smith, and it was about not aliens, but like it was Earth, and it was about like they were cops, and it was a very bizarre movie. And Netflix produced the movie for something about $100 million. It was a pretty expensive movie, and it was awful. I mean, it was really, really terrible. And I read somewhere that the movie had something on the order of about 80 or 90 million views. So it doesn't really matter for them. The quality of the movie. What matters is what the value is in overall viewership. What is it going to bring them in the end? And I think, I don't know, I'm not sure I read once that there's no corollary between any one factor of a movie and the popularity of that movie. So, what the movie's about, who wrote it, who directed it, the genre,
how much it costs,
of the human watching it. There's nothing that anybody has found that said this person is going to like this movie 85% of the time. We just haven't found that metric. People keep searching, but that's why we make so much trash and we just throw it at the wall to see what sticks.
I love that though.
Netflix
I love that about.
I
have to say it because I love that about human nature. Right? Oh, you can't predict humans at all whatsoever. You can't have a single identified metric to say what people are going to like. Good, because as soon as you do, right? And they do. I disagree with that because they say like the sitcoms they say they write for the audience, right? So they cater to the vanilla
person on the planet.
Yeah, I mean they do that. So I don't agree that you. But what happens is you get stuff like The Big Bang Theory. It's like it had some moments in like the first season, and it's like, but it went on 12 seasons, it's just garbage. And it's like, well, we know we can sell. How do I say it? If you know what people will tune in for, then you have a shitty project you can possibly get just to get. It's like clickbait, right? It's like it doesn't matter what the content is. We know that somebody will click on it if we say, "Hey, 5 ways to do tricks to get more money from the bank. This is why the bankers hate you." Like we know, like the BuzzFeed type articles. So I love that you can predict what will make a movie good because that means it's not a quantifiable thing. It's human.
No, but what I do think it means is that, if you're Netflix and you're going to put something in production, the value of what you throw out there, the amount of money that you're willing to spend is probably correlated. It's correlated to something, right? So it's got to be, and if it's not going to be some quality of a movie, it's going to be who's in the movie. So Will Smith is going to command a certain dollar value. That's it. And it's worth something to me and I'm willing to pay it. So, if I'm going to put Brad Pitt in a movie, I'm going to put Will Smith in a movie, it's going to be a lot. And I'll tell you right now, and I think everybody would probably agree, I'm more willing to watch a movie with Brad Pitt in it than nobody. I just am. I don't know. It doesn't mean that it's going to be there's plenty of movies that he's been in that are awful. But
Burn After Reading.
Yeah, there you go. Horrible. Absolutely terrible. But
you're right.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, but the next one might be 12 Monkeys, or the next one might be Fight Club, or the next one might be Inglourious Basterds. Dude, I'll watch that 100 times. So
yeah.
He has a history of making mostly good movies. I enjoy Ryan Reynolds. I think he's a funny guy. The Deadpool, the banter there, I think that's great. I was folding laundry. What am I going to watch? What is this Six Underground? That looks like Ryan Reynolds. I click on it. It has a decent plot line, summary or whatever. So I start watching it. I'm like, whoa, I got to stop folding laundry so I can watch this movie. And it was entertaining. It starts off with a car chase scene. And if you haven't watched it, you should. If you have Netflix. And if you don't, you should get Netflix because
I think
we're a dying breed.
Do you work for Netflix?
Mr. Alex. I don't, but I have, I have had Netflix as a subscription for 18 years.
Since before Blockbuster was gone?
Before streaming. That's before streaming. You were getting DVDs.
I had to
VHS.
Shut up, Alex. I had to put a list of movies and then they would just
queue
on a stone tablet. Wow, you're both. You put them in your queue and you can still get them sent to you. Oh, I hate both Felice boys now. But you have to, I remember going home and being like, "Ooh, I sent one in yesterday. I have to go rearrange my queue because I don't want to get that one movie. I want to get a different one." And then you go in there, you're like, "Oh, they already sent it." So yeah, I've had Netflix for a super, super long time and going to get rid of that $13 a month charge.
It's funny. For the first time in my life, I actually felt like a millennial because I can remember thinking when Netflix was doing that and they were coming out with their DVD service at the time, I remember thinking, that takes too long. I'm not doing that. I'd rather just go to the store and rent one. I can have it now.
Going to stupid Blockbuster and they were never open when I wanted to go there. I wake up super early. They only open at like 11 or something. So I would go there and they would never have the movie I wanted. Whereas on Netflix, they would send me the next one in the queue that they had. And it was kind of exciting to get that red envelope in the mail. Woo-hoo.
Well, we definitely
I know I am
in this conversation.
Yes. Well, I'm slightly older than both of you combined.
Okay, let me move on. Is the airline industry, what's the bailout going to look like? I'm not even asking if they're going to do one. I know they're going to do one.
It's not even it's not even just airlines. It's Boeing just asked for a $60 billion bailout.
Hey, Boeing, how about you make a plane that doesn't explode?
We can't afford to have Boeing go out of business. The only manufacturer left in the world would be Airbus. The United States would be out of that industry.
So
we can't have it.
Let me turn real quick to a larger topic, and I think that I'm going to give Donald some credit and say he's been railing about the Chinese taking our manufacturing, and well, his argument is rudimentary and oversimplified, but it's not incorrect in its in the manifestation meaning. We have been outsourcing manufacturing in this country for 3 decades, and I think now we are nice in that we're waiting on face mask filters to come from China. Come on now. come on now, like GM did whatever you guys freaking need, which I think is a good idea. But it's like Jared said, like, we can't afford to have Boeing, can't lose that industry. We have to make that stuff here. And so then GM is the same way. And so I think in 2008 we said we want to have the cars built here. We don't want to rely on Toyota always. We build them out, and now I think they're going to survive this one. They're in better shape, I hope. But it kind of, my I guess where I'm going with this is, well, after all this said and done, will we see a resurgence in American manufacturing as a means of society says, you know what? I know that we like our little Apple phones and we like that they're cheap, but do you think that there's going to be there's an intrinsic value of producing things here in the States?
Yes, I think there is a value. I think it would be valuable to bring manufacturing back home, and I think that it's not going to happen. I think that Americans have a very short memory, and I think they're going to, any manufacturing that comes here is going to eventually go away again, because we are going to price ourselves out of the market. I want it cheaper, I want it faster, I want it now, and I don't want to pay an American to do this. We can't afford to pay Americans to do the work because we need to make iPhones for $1,000.
In China.
In China. Yeah. Well, we need to be able to sell them for $1,000. The only way we can do that is by making them with slave labor.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, so I don't think it's a terrible idea, though. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. The problem with China is that they're not a free market. So if you look at how this has kind of been exploited in the past, we used to have things made in Mexico. We used to have things made in Malaysia. We used to have things made in Japan. So in the 80s, it was Japan. We exploited Japan. I mean, all the way. They had cheap labor. They couldn't do anything. They came out with Daihatsu and Mitsubishi and all these companies that were a direct result of American desires. And those needs and desires spread like wildfire. Now, Japan kind of caught on. They allowed their market to fluctuate freely, and they allowed their people to buy their things, and it got too expensive. So what do? We go to Korea. Well, then Korea comes out with Samsung, and they come out with some of these amazing, Hyundai, and they do the same thing, and they let it to fluctuate, and their people end up buying the things that they make, and it gets too expensive. So then we go to Mexico, and they're corrupt, so we go to China, and China won't let it fluctuate. So you end up with conditions that the Chinese basically create themselves by not allowing free enterprise to flow according to natural market laws. And as a result of that, we're exploiting their labor, as we should, but it's resulting in some pretty nasty things. So yeah, I don't disagree. So our manufacturing is being exported. We have no desire to insource. It's far too expensive. We can make all the political rhetoric we want, but at the end of the day, situations like this. What's up?
What about some private, we privatize part of the airline, or you make it a government entity?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think that might be what ends up happening in the future. I think it's a terrible idea. That's exactly what Airbus is. I think it defeats all sorts of capitalism.
Because what I said, right? Everyone's like, well, yeah, that sounds good, but it's a bad idea. But the alternative is what we have now, which is, we bail out GM, and 8-10 years we bail out Boeing, and then let me ask you. Okay, let me switch from airlines. Is the hotel industry going to need to bail out from this?
Oh man, yeah. The world's on fire.
Where do we stop?
Just go from one industry to the next.
Hey,
where do we stop?
Can I get a bailout of this, by the way?
Yeah, you're gonna get a bailout.
Hey, I'm sorry.
$1,200.
I'm sorry to do this because I know we gotta go. Let's talk real estate real quick. How's this going to affect real estate investors?
You know what? I think that this is going to affect real estate investors quite a bit. You have a 24-unit apartment building, do you not?
I do.
Who are you renting to? What are the positions? What are the jobs that people who are renting from you have? It's a bunch of studio apartments. So I'm assuming you've got waitresses and bartenders in there, maybe some hairdressers, maybe some of these. And I'm not knocking waitresses and bartenders and hairdressers. I've been a waitress. I was never good enough to be a bartender.
No, I know what you're saying, though. They're financially insolvent.
Well, they're closed. Their businesses are all closed, not due to whatever, they're not taking a vacation because they chose to. They can't work. If they can't work, they are, and I hate to speak in such generalizations, but people who are waitresses typically are not really mastering their finances. They're typically living paycheck to paycheck or really night to night because it's an all cash industry. Your paycheck is nothing. You don't care about that $25 you just got in your paycheck for a whole week's worth of work. I made $200 last night, and I went to the gambling boat because I can, because tomorrow I'll pick up another shift and I'll make another $200. And if there's not a lot of forward thinking, at least there wasn't when I was a waitress. So when they don't have any money coming in, what are they going to do? Are they going to pay their rent first? No, probably not.
So how many months am I going to burn my own cash? That's the question.
Until
No, but it is a good question. Like, you've got these tenants. What are you going to do when they stop paying their rent?
So here's my current plan, because I have 32. Some of them are Section 8. About 10% of my portfolio, 10 to 15% of my portfolio is military. So I believe they will continue to pay because they're not getting paychecks cut.
Yeah,
about 20% of my portfolio is Section 8, which I don't believe will see any difference because for the same reason they're sending bailouts, they're not going to cut funding of the social program. So I think
say Section 8, what percentage of the rent is paid by the government?
That's a good question. About 80%.
80%. Okay.
So I say all that to say I won't have zero income. I don't believe that I have zero income. I believe I'll have some. Now I have 75% LTV or greater on everything. There's nothing in my entire portfolio that has less than that. So I have. I say that to say my cash flow is pretty good. Meaning, and all the properties I have are cheap. My 8 single family, they're like $60,000 mortgages, right? Like my total bit is like, I don't know what I write a check for every month, like $3,500 for the single families, and then like another, I probably have less than a $15,000 PITI.
Okay, now you just said what? 10% is military and 20% is government. Section 8, yeah. So that's like 30%. What percentage of that 15,000 does that 30% cover?
So I don't know. My question is more like, hey, assume I have zero income. How many months do I need? Right? And if it's not just me, say it's a new investor, right? It's like, how many months of cash flow? We always say like have 6 months PITI, but now's the time. You may need 6 months.
Now is the time you may need 6 months. And frankly, you need to have healthy reserves. Do you have a job? And I'm not talking.
I don't have a job, by the way.
You do not have a job. So me having a job with all of those same things is going to be very different than you having a job with all of those same things. I am a couple of months older than you, so I have a different, I have a different financial position than you do, from years of frugality, decades before you were born frugality, and I'm in a different place financially. I can weather a lot more storm than somebody who's just starting out, who has drunk the Kool-Aid, who has leverage to the hilt and has no reserves. Scott and I recorded a show today and we're like, look, you need to have reserves. You need to have reserves upon reserves. You need to have ways to get cash because it's very probable. There's a high probability that you will be coming to the table with cash every month for the next 3 months.
So I have enough that if I have no income and I have to go 3 months of writing all checks, I'm fine. I actually have a very high set of reserves. And that's
awesome. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you have reserves.
I'm a pretty conservative investor, but not everybody will.
Here's another thing. No, not everybody will, but here's another thing. What are your job prospects? If you needed to go out and get a job tomorrow, would people be like, hey, Alex, we'd love to interview you? Or would they like, wow, you can run a fax machine. You're so awesome. Your skills are just not what we're looking for. Like, you have skills that would get you a job, right?
I could get a job, no problem.
Okay. So that's a very different position to be in than somebody who is, I'm not picking on waitresses, but somebody who has a waitressing degree and they've got, that's it. That's all they've ever done.
A waitressing degree?
Yeah, I'm being facetious.
That's more insulting.
That's not insulting. I'm not trying to be insulting. If that is insulting, I'm not trying to be insulting. But if that's like, I know a lot of people, especially when I was a waitress, I knew a lot of people who graduated high school and started waitressing, or they were waitressing all through high school and just continued. They never went to college. They never did anything else. That's their life. And you can make a butt ton of money as a waitress, but not if the company is not open.
Yes. Las Vegas, actually not even this. Nevada closed all casinos in the state for 30 days. That's 440 casinos.
I didn't know they had 440. That's a lot. That's probably going to affect some things. Who's the biggest employer in Las Vegas? The casinos combined, right?
In Las Vegas, I don't know. there's probably somebody from my Vegas group that's going to read this and think, yeah, but MGM, Caesars, something like that has got to be up there.
Yeah, but like collectively, the
casino
industry employs the most people in Las Vegas. What does their unemployment line look like? Colorado closed all restaurants and bars to sit down traffic.
Same.
And in a normal week, we would get 5,000 new unemployment claims. This week alone, we're recording this on a Friday. Monday, we had 10,000. Tuesday, we had 12,000. They're now hiring temporary intake positions because there are so many people who are filing for unemployment claims. Our ski resorts are closed.
Is this going to be the biggest calamity of our lifetime?
This is insane. This is insane.
This is absolutely going to be the biggest calamity of our lifetime. You know what? I should not say absolutely, because I thought 9/11 was a big old cluster, and look at that.
That brings me to a very good. That brings me to a really good point, right? Like we act okay. What if something else happens in addition to all this?
Well, something else is going to happen. We're going to make it happen. We're going to manifest more disaster because we love to do that.
I don't understand. I mean, I get why they're closing everything down. I don't disagree with closing everything down. I don't know how I feel about handing everybody a $1,000 check, because honestly, look at your bills. What percentage of your monthly bills are going to be covered by $1,000 check? And it's a one-time check, right?
Well, the problem they have, in a perfect world, what they would do is they go to every single individual and they'd say, on average, we need to give $1,000 to everybody. Some people aren't going to need it. A lot of people aren't going to need it. A lot of people really need it, maybe even more, right? Oh, for you, you get $1,800. For you, you get $50. But we don't live in a perfect world, and we can't go state by state. We can't go individual by individual. And so the idea is like, throw $1,200 at every single.
I think they're going to do it by income.
Well, they're going to do it partially by income. They already said if you make less than 100,000, you won't get anything.
Yeah.
Which is not
more than 100,000.
Yeah. If you make,
You just said if you make less than 100,000.
Oh, excuse me. Well, I have flaws. Okay, there's my.
Yeah, you do.
There it is. There's the one flaw. First mistake all year.
Oh my God. So, but look at somebody who is living paycheck to paycheck. They have no savings. They have no anything. What is $1,000 going to do? Let's say that their rent is $500 a month. That's 2 months
for
of
somebody
rent.
who makes minimum wage, that's almost a month's worth of income.
$1,000.
What's minimum wage? $7.25. What's the math on 40 hours?
I don't know what minimum wage is.
Yeah.
I am very fortunate. That sounds so snotty. I am very fortunate to not know what minimum wage is.
No, but you're right. It's a nonsense program. We've tried this before, and we have very short memories, and we don't remember what the ramifications were last time, and we're going to do it again anyways.
I mean, what is this going to give?
And worse than that,
we're not going to do anything. And then the question is, we're going to be 2 years studying what people did with this $1,000, and then we're going to find out that they did things that were absolutely nonsense with it.
Scratch offs.
Yeah, right. I mean, last time we did this, people gave, the Bush administration gave people $300, and we went and what sure, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I remember watching the news. They're like, don't go out and spend this at Walmart because it's all Chinese made. You're not putting the money back into the economy. Go and spend it on American made products. There was like this big push because just like you said, it's like people are gonna get money and they're gonna be like, I got $1,000. They're not gonna think anything differently.
And credit card debt down. Yeah. We still had a massive debt. I call it a problem. I mean, that's an understatement.
Yeah, and my thing is because in the last time, right, what they did stimulus to revitalize the economy after it had tanked. What they're doing now is preventative, which sounds better, but how do you prevent against an unknown? Like Jared,
you don't close things down. That's how you do it. You just let people make their own decisions.
Well, my fear is like you give everybody $1,000, and it's like, what if this thing goes on three months? Are you gonna write a check for $1,000 every month to everybody? It might. What I'm saying. Yeah, so you're like you give $1,000. It's like, dude, what if it's 1 month and you got $1,000 and it saves you? It's like, dude, that worked. But if it's not,
if it's 1 month that we're closed, and then all of a sudden everything ramps back up instantly, everything's not going to ramp back up instantly. Once the restaurants open in my town, I'm not going out there. I might buy a gift card.
Yeah, it's gonna take.
But I'm not going to go there.
Slow process getting things back into
the
swing.
And that's where the analogy to TSA comes in, because the real problem that we're doing is creating fear. And the only solution, I'm convinced that the only real solution to this, because you're right, we're going to have a trickle out effect that's going to last 2 years, and then by the time it becomes a memory, that's when it'll be fixed. The only real solution to this is a vaccine. That's it. There's nothing else.
We're going to write a lot of checks to get there. All right, Mindy Jensen, I know you got to go.
Okay, Felice, this was super awesome fun. Jared, it was nice to meet you.
Likewise.
I'm gonna have to do this. I'd like to do this regularly with a small group of revolving people. So maybe I'll have you back in a few weeks.
That sounds awesome. Call me.
I do know it.
It's nice. I hope that Penelope is asleep now.
Oh my gosh, she's asleep. It sounds so good too.
Never
Jared, you
move
can-
a sleeping baby.
Jared, you can stand
That's my
for a
pro
few-
tip.
Yeah.
Okay. Good night, Felice and Felice. I'm going to go
Good
put my
night.
own kiddos to bed.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I figured.